Hello, class, and welcome to our 14th lecture series on microeconomics. And I'm your instructor, Dr. Jamel. So, today we are starting the markets for factor of production. Up till now, throughout this semester, what we have learned the microeconomics, which is the management of price and quantity on smaller scale. We talked about the market structure. We talked about perfect competition, monopoly, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, right? And in those market structure, what we have learned, how, how much we have to produce to get maximum profit, right? And we talked about the revenue structure as well. We talked about the price and marginal revenue. In order to produce, we have to produce the at lowest cost. We talked about that. Where is the lowest cost? When MC is equal to N more. All right. So up till now, we have discussed the concept of total profit, right, in market structures. And today, we will talk about the factors of production, right? We talk about the quantities, right? Cost of the quantity. If you happen to be, I think, no, you haven't studied the managerial accounting. So in managerial accounting, we talk about the factors that contributing the cost of the output, right? So up till now, we just talk about the quantity down and that's it. But in order to produce, you need labor, you need raw material, and you need the capital, the machinery, light, and the land, right? So these are the factors of production. Without, if you just have labor, you don't have the others, it's pointless. So up till now, we studied the cost of production, all right? So this is the cost of production. Whereas the factor of productions, we have land, labor, and capital. So let's just talk about, explore this chapter, the markets for factors of production. So it talks about when you finish school, your income is determined largely by what kind of job you take. Computer programmers are paid higher than gas attendants. All right. So no law required that computer programmers be paid higher than the gas attendants. Nor any ethical principle suggests that there should be any difference. So what determines which job pay you the higher wages? So it depends factor of production. So in order to answer this question, we will discuss extensively in our lecture 15, which is the next lecture. So, but remember that factors of production are inputs used to produce goods and services. But partially we are going to answer this question, that why some wages are higher, why some wages are lower. So the demand for factor of production, the demand for factor of production, the demand for inputs, direct labor. In this case, this is the management accounting term, direct labor, but you can call this labor here. So the demand curve for all the factor of production are called derived demand. And what do we mean by that? Which means the demand for factor of productions are derived by other factors. If those factor increases, the demand for this factor of production also. Hey class, sorry about that. There was a glitch. Okay, now can you hear it?
Yes.
Okay, so let's continue our class. So we were talking about that the factors of productions, their demands are derived demand, which means these are derived from the decision to supply goods in another market. So which means demand of computer programmers and gas attendants depend on supply of computer programs and gasoline. So now you understand, if there is no computers, then why there is a demand for computer programmers? If there is no gasoline, so do we need any here the gas attendants on the gas station? No, right? So remember the factors of production demand, we call this derived demand. So now the demand for labor. So labor markets, like other markets in the economy, are governed by the forces of supply and demand. But what we studied here, because labor is a part of production, right? Is a one factor of production. So their demand is called derived demand. Like we just talked about that, the demand for computer programmers increase with the increase in the demand for laptops or computers, right? Or we can say that demand for designer increases with the increase in the sales or increase in the demand of quantity of fashion products. If there is a fashion, there is a need for designers. So their demand are called derived demand. So for example, here, if we talk about your book example here, so your book example says there is an market for Apple. So how many apples buyers want to buy and producer want to supply to the market, it depends on equilibrium. So this is the market for apples, and this is the market for apple pickers. All right. So theoretically, what we talk about here, if the demand for apple rises, so apple producers, they will grow more or they will plant more apple trees. They would be needing more apple pickers, more apple picker laborers, right? So demand increases with the increase in the quantity of final product, which is apple, right? So we say that the demand of apple pickers depend on the quantity demanded by apples in the market, or you can say that the apples market, right? If the price of apple rises, the price of the labor, which is the wages, also rises. So if we talk about the market for apple, and the market means there is demand and there is supply. Supply means supply of labor, supply of apple picker. All right. So if more price is available, price of labor is called wages. If more wages are available, more people will be applying for apple picker jobs, right? And demand means demand is derived by market of apple. So the market pickers, sorry, the apple pickers market equilibrium depends on supply of apple pickers plus the demand for apple pickers. And the cross section is equilibrium, and equilibrium, we have a price, and the price of labor is called wage. And the quantity of labor is called the labor that is available at this wage to pick the apple. All right. So the apple producer demand for apple pickers is derived from the market demand for apples. So guys, you understand? Oliver, Havarun, Marco, Nicholas, Nana, Havarun,
Yes.
Vanitia.
Yes.
Good, good. Now, like we talked about the maximum profit in the market structure, the same concept can be applied here. How? Because the apple producer want to maximize its profit, and what we discuss in the market structure, maximization of profit means minimization of cost. Two sides of the same coin. All right. So most labor services, rather than being in the final goods ready to be enjoyed by consumers, are inputs into the products of other goods. So you can say that most of the raw materials or most of the finished goods, for example, ink. So ink, we need to treat it chemically and make the ink, and ink is sold to make the pens, and the pen is a final product. Ink is also a final product for ink producers. So most of the labor services and the products which are used in final products, we call them, these are inputs of production. So the production function illustrates the relationship between quantities of inputs and the quantities of output. So we are now reading again the production function, which shows the relationship between one factor of production and the output. So when we have zero labor, the per week apple picking bushels, these are, or wheat bushels, these are corn bushels, 0. 1 labor, 100 bushels. 2, 180. 3, 240. 4, 280. 5, 300. So do you see something here? The same rule apply here. Marginal product of labor, diminishing marginal product of labor. So you see here, do we have here? Yes. So when we employ 1, our quantity of bushel per week increase by 100 bushel per week. When we employ the second one, it increases from 100 to 180, but the overall addition is less than the previous one. When we apply the third one, is 240, which means total production increases but at decreasing rate. So what is the formula for marginal product of labor? Change in quantity divided by change in labor. So since we are talking about marginal production of labor, so this is